In this lesson, we're looking at the line and pen tools. To a certain extent, both of these tools can do the same thing. They both draw lines. They do have some differences, though. These differences lie in how you actually draw, what the line looks like while you're drawing, and the types of lines you can draw with each tool. The line tool, for example, can only draw straight lines, while the pen tool can draw straight lines and curves. Also, using the line tool, you can snap to other objects, grid lines, and guides while you draw. With the pen tool, this works a little bit differently. Finally, you can also use the pen tool to modify existing anchor points on a path, as opposed to only being able to create new artwork, or basically draw a line. So let's start off with the line tool. It's up here, and the keyboard shortcut for this one is the letter N. Using the line tool is very easy. Just click and drag. A line is created that has the attributes that we set down here in the Properties Inspector. We're going to be covering the Properties Inspector in depth later on, so we don't need to look at this yet. But we will look over here in the Options area. There's two buttons here, and the one on the right should be familiar here. It's our friendly Snap to Objects button. But the one on the left is a little bit different. This turns Object Drawing Mode on, and you can do this quickly by hitting the letter J on your keyboard. Object Drawing is a cool new feature in Flash 8, and to demonstrate, I'll just draw a few lines normally without Object Drawing turned on. In previous versions of Flash, if we create artwork that intersects with other artwork, the original artwork is altered. In this case, I've drawn a line that intersects these two lines. Now, using the Selection tool, you can see that these two segments of line are now split. This can be useful, but if you don't expect it, it can cause a few problems. I'll just back up a few steps and we'll turn Object Drawing on. Draw the line again, and this time it looks a little bit different. We see a blue rectangle outline around the line. This signifies that this line is now on its own and it won't affect anything else. We can verify this, again by using the Selection tool. This line is still complete, and so is this one. It's a pretty handy feature, and all you have to do is hit the letter J or hit this button to turn it off and on. Now, before we leave the line tool, it has a keyboard modifier. If you hold down the Control key, you'll see that the cursor changes into the Selection tool. This saves a bit of time. We don't have to keep switching tools. To alter a line, just hold down Control, and you can do what you would normally do with the Selection tool. Okay, that's it for the line tool. Let's move on to the pen tool. It's located just below the line tool, and the keyboard shortcut for this one is the letter P. Drawing straight lines with the pen tool is just as easy as they are with the line tool, except we do it a little bit differently. Instead of clicking and dragging, just click and release, move your cursor, and click and release again. Flash automatically creates our lines for us. And you'll notice if you return to your original point, the cursor changes, and there's a small O, or circle, next to it. This tells us that if I click here, Flash is going to close this path and fill the area inside of it with whatever color we have set here in the fill color. I do that, and it's now full of red. Okay, I'll undo this, and we'll look at drawing curves. To draw curves, click and drag, and Flash will automatically create tangent handles which control the shape of the resulting curve. We get a nice little preview as we draw. And again, if we return to our starting point, the cursor changes, our path is closed, and the object is filled. Now, I mentioned a couple of minutes ago that we can also use the pen tool to modify existing anchor points, and we're going to do this now. If you move the pen tool over a curve point, you can see that it changes, and there's a small pointer next to it now. This means that if we single click on this curve point, it's transformed into a corner point. Move your cursor over a corner point again, and you'll see that it now has a small minus symbol next to it. This means that if you click, that point will disappear. Move the cursor over a portion of the path, not over an anchor point, and you'll see a small plus appears. This means that we can add anchor points. And finally, in a similar fashion to the line tool, the pen tool is also modified when we hold down the control key. In this case, it changes to the subselection tool, again saving us time. I keep holding the control key down, and you can do pretty much the same things that you can do with the subselection tool. Only a lot quicker because you don't have to go back and select it. And that brings us to the end of this lesson on the line and pen tools.